as a consumer advocate and a passionate attorney, what do you see happening in the real estate space right now?
Well, and there's a lot of things happening, and a lot of people who want to get involved in real estate on an investment side. What I've seen really in the last 6 weeks, there's been some issues where I've come to a situation where somewhere down the lane of the chain of title, someone who owned it prior to you trying to buy it, apparently a dead person signed a deed. Ooh. So that's kind of a sticky situation. And so trying to find out who really signed that deed and what's going to fall out of that's going to be a very convoluted situation.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so there's some other issues where I've had really in the last 6 weeks where one person contracts to sell a house legitimately, somehow gets a better offer and double books it. So they sign another contract for a higher price, and the first buyer is out there going, well, you agreed, we shook hands, we signed a contract, we put down a deposit money, we're ready to go, and you can't just automatically just get rid of my offer in the deal because you think you get something better.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of things happening out there in real estate, and you gotta, if you want to be an investor and you want to play the game, there's some risk involved. There's a lot of risk involved.
Yep.
And you don't want to be out there in the wind. The third aspect that happened to me this week is someone an investor bought a deal from a foreclosure sale, and lo and behold, there's a prior mortgage. The second mortgage is the one that foreclosed upon. So there's a huge debt in front of it. So it is not as easy as the DIY shows make it. Okay,
that's for sure.
And it can be if you're knowledgeable, a great investment.
Right.
I mean, I personally own real estate, and I think it's a great investment. But if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're not trusting the right professionals to guide you, and if they're not insured, and there's a variety of other factors, if you're not covering yourself, you can lose a lot of money.
That's right, Frank. Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at this, the contract that you had said, you got contract A, contract B, that owner could sue for a specific, or that buyer could sue the owner for a specific performance, correct?
Absolutely. So if they wanted to go ahead and get that house, we would file a lawsuit. We would file what's called a lis pendens at the same time. All that means is a fancy word that says, it's a one-page document that says, hey, world, everyone out there, I'm out here. So if you take title of this property, you have to deal with this problem. So once that is filed in the public records, everyone pursuant to law is obligated to have constructive knowledge of what's in the public records. And if you buy a piece of property and don't check the public records, you're taking it subject to that problem. So you just bought yourself a problem.
Yeah.
Just like the analogy I gave a second ago, where someone bought a foreclosure sale and it was a second mortgage that foreclosed, not the first. And there's an issue there because first mortgage company saying I was recorded. There's constructive knowledge out there. We got to deal with me now.
There was a big issue last year too. I want to say it was about a year ago, maybe 18 months, on St. Pete Beach or one of the beaches. That a very similar situation happened, and it was one of the mortgages showed up that they thought was satisfied. Do you get anybody remember that one? It was in the
that
papers.
Happened to me in a commercial space that
really?
I was renting.
Wow.
I was renting from somebody who bought it as a foreclosure property, and they paid off whatever second lien it was or whatever the purchase price was for that purpose, and there ended up being a first lien, and of course that bank wanted the property because they weren't paid.
Did they sue you as a tenant?
I got served on some paperwork because I was the tenant, but I didn't get sued. No.
Probably noticed, constructive notice. By the way, that's Scott Kepler, Mortgage Approval Group. We got Jake Alexander in the house, Alexander Financial, and attorney Frank Miranda, Frank Charles Miranda Law, here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. So, yeah, Frank, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with a real estate transaction. These shows on TV make it seem like it's so easy to do. By the way, I was just talking with some folks over the weekend. There's a gentleman that was he almost won some type of $1 million giveaway, and then now he's starting an HGTV show here in Tampa Bay. I forgot his name. I meant to reach out to him. James remind me to reach out to this gentleman, but I'd like to get him on the show. But his whole show is about 90 days, and he's going to build the house in 90 days, and that's his show.
From the ground?
And he's from the ground up. Yeah, 90-day build your house. Yeah, and he's
Man,
doing
that's
a show.
almost a miracle, because if you can get anyone in construction to show up,
That's what I'm
show
saying.
up more than once in 90 days, you're lucky.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, so interesting stuff. And in Tampa Bay, just another great, just a great market in itself. And that again proves it. Another highly touted show coming to the area. But when it comes to real estate transactions, man, there's a lot of situations that could go haywire.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad things that can happen. And so what happens is, it's my understanding before I got here, you guys were talking about some of those discount brokerage firms that may be advertising they can sell your house for less.
That's right.
Who's going to walk your hand through the process when it comes to closing? Half these companies or all these companies, I think, to my knowledge, are stationed outside the state of Florida. What do they know about Florida law? Mm-hmm. And so the people I've spoken to at these companies are effectively, in my opinion, they're not qualified to discuss anything involving a Florida contract or closing. All they know is that their company has deals with other big companies, and they're going to push this through, and they're going to make it look like you're buying a dog. It's that simple. It's not that simple. And the fact that you go out there and you put down, for the most people, they're going to put down most, if not all, of their savings, and they're going to trust that everything's done correctly. I hope you take more of a look at it than you would at a simple text message or something of that nature. Take it more seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, this is kind of like the concept where you feel pain in your jaw and you feel pain in your arm. It might be a heart attack.
Right.
So treat that seriously. It's not just, I'll blow it off.
That's right.
So when it comes to the largest investment in your life, or it comes to a largest investment when it comes to your investment portfolio, when you start about thinking about doing investment properties, first and foremost, never put it in your own name.
Yeah.
I mean, let's start with the most basic concepts.
That's right.
Okay, so let's do something that helps protect your assets along with some of your estate planning along the way.
Yeah, put it into an LLC. A lot of times you'll see that. Trust would also give you protection in certain capacities as well. So, some good stuff there. Attorney Frank Miranda. All right, top tips, nuggets of advice, parting words of wisdom. Scott Kepler, Mortgage Approval Group.
I think my parting words of wisdom would be, Brandon, just to tell consumers not to be scared to reach out to the professionals who know the business, and talk with us and pick our brains, and let's get the real deal information.
That's right.
If you need to get from point A to point B, and you know what your goal is, and they're talking with you, maybe you don't handle, for example, the mortgage side, but you know who to refer to them to that will take them by the hand and walk them through the process to work with you at the same time and communicate with you.
That's right.
That whole communication piece to get them to that end goal.
Super connector. That's me right there. And Jake Alexander Financial.
Yeah, my parting words would be work with your team of professionals. I think this is like the perfect panel. Hearing you say what you said about people getting into things kind of over their head without exactly knowing what they're doing is very interesting. And then we were talking about it a little bit before you got here. People just not being prepared from a financial statement, tax return perspective. It's be proactive about everything and work with the right team of professionals is my message. So
excellent, good stuff. Attorney Frank Miranda.
Yeah, to follow up on that, when you're going to make a large investment in real estate, number one, read something before you sign it. Let's start with the basics. Number two, if you have any questions whatsoever, first and foremost, never buy a rental property that you're going to invest in your own name. Create an entity. Okay, let's start having some asset protection on there. Call my office if you have any questions. That's 254-2637, area code 813. But you have to protect yourself before you put the money down. Let's start with that. Let's start with the basic fundamentals. Before you call a football play, you got to have a team.
That's right.
Okay, and so when you get that team together, then you start making the play calls, and we can direct you how to make those play calls. And really, like the quarterback, let's score a touchdown. But you can do it, and you can minimize your risk.
That's right. Yeah, I like that, because you're going to have different types of offenses at certain times of the game, and different strategies when you're going into the big game, the Super Bowl game, for example. We mentioned the Patriots earlier. We were talking about, making sure your team talks to the whole team, because there's so many different forms and documents, especially when you get into tax filings. There's a lot of things that it can be convoluted, become into a pile of coat hangers if you're not careful. So reach out to the best professionals, consumerqb.com. We got you covered at consumerqb.com. And also, please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Pack up some food or clothing, carry it with you to and from that commute, hand it to that person that you see in need, and be a force for good in the community. I want to thank our expert contributors today. Great show, and check out consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Contact Brandon Rhymes at 813-670-7372. That's 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show, weekday afternoons at 5 on AM 1380. The Biz.